Good morning and welcome to Blockchain Week. Today is proudly brought to you by CoinSpot. We have here today a panelist. We're going to be talking about the NFT State of the Union, where we've come from and where we're heading. We have our speakers today, Yasmin Shima. She's a founder and artist from Year of the Woman. Carson, he's the Chief Operating Officer at the Proof Collective. Trey, Ratcliff, the owner of StuckInCustoms.com. And our moderator for today is Adam McBride. He's an NFT archaeologist from the Adam McBride Show. Over to you, Adam.
Thank you very much. What is an NFT archaeologist? What I do, in case you all don't know, which of course you don't, is I look for old NFT projects and bring them into today's marketplace. So I've relaunched a couple of different NFT projects from 2016, 15, 14. Try to bring them into the modern NFT marketplace. And I'm excited to talk with these guys and gals about the future of NFTs. I think we're having a moment here globally where we're on the cusp of an incredible new world, and getting artist perspective, I think, because artists really led the way into NFTs, I think is great. And having Ryan here to give more of a businessy perspective, I think would be awesome as well. Ryan, why don't we start with you? Welcome, man. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here. It's fun to see fellow Proof member Trey and Yasmin. Nice to meet you. Excited for this conversation.
I wanted to talk first about community, and what we have now kind of currently in the NFT space is basically communities, or what you've done with Proof, which is kind of a membership club, I guess if you want to call it that, membership. Where do you see this going in the future? As far as the way, for example, right now, if I look at the different NFT communities, whether it's Bored Apes or Punks or Proof, you have kind of siloed gardens of communities. How do you view, like, moving forward, kind of connecting these communities in different ways? Or do you think about connecting those communities? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I think communities are at the core of who we are as humans. And just because we're digital doesn't mean that we don't crave connection. So Proof is 1,000 members. It's a gated community. And actually, it means the quality of conversation is a lot higher in the Discord. It's much safer. It's much more inclusive. And so we're all about building those real relationships in Discord, and then taking those to IRL through meetups. It's honestly, it's the most fun I've ever had in a community in my whole life.
Yeah, I've had the same experience with the different kind of communities that I, work with, and a part of, and I'm sure you guys are the same way. You're parts of multiple different communities, right, in the NFT space. Yasmin, can you tell me a little bit? I know your project's relatively new. Can you tell me what kind of challenges you face kind of building these communities? Obviously, you're an artist, but it's the same sort of thing. You're still having to build these communities as an artist. What's kind of been a challenge for you?
So I guess just coming into this, as a newbie, only a couple months in, but I guess obviously I'm working with a team for this generative project. So we've really just built our community in an organic manner. So I guess in terms of challenges, I'm not sure if I can speak directly to that, but it's just been a very organic growth for us. So rather than, I guess, trying to build high numbers in a very short amount of time, we've just done it in a way which is true to what we stand for, true to the art, true to the values of the roadmap. And I guess in a way it may present sort of challenges in maybe I guess expectations when it comes to a mint day, or I guess a sellout or a very fast sellout, which we're not an overnight sellout. We're still minting at the moment. We're over halfway. So I guess there's that kind of balance of the expectation versus wanting to stay true to kind of an authentic and genuine community build. So whether or not that answered the question indirectly or not, I think it's sort of I guess just sticking true to kind of, I guess, the authenticity of it, and then finding the right, I guess, community to support that journey.
It's interesting because I'm wondering if, Trey, you've had a couple of, several successful NFTs and NFTs projects. do you think there's a difference because you are an already well-established artist? Do you think the NFT marketplace looks at you differently than they do, a 10,000 PFP project and that sort of thing? And do you think you get the same pressures that kind of those founders of those projects are under to, when Moon, when Lambo type of thing? I mean, do you think you get to avoid that a little bit as an artist?
Well, I think I'm similar to Yasmin in lots of ways in that she was an established artist before all this. She's like a real painter, and she has the chops. Real artists go through so much pain and suffering, and then they discover like love and all these kind of things. There's a real artistic process. We're not just a bunch of Bangladeshi people churning out JPEGs in some factory. There's some real thought and artistic stuff that goes into this stuff. I think about communities a lot, and I've learned so much from Proof. We think about everyone's favorite thing in NFTs is like the reveal, right? And the nice thing about being in a community like Proof is you get something revealed to you new every day. There's something new happening all the time, and there's kind of excitement, and that builds a community, and that's amazing. And I know Ryan and Justin, Kevin, they're about to release these really cool things. I don't know if we're not allowed to talk about them yet, but it's going to allow the Proof community to grow and have like a bigger impact. So I know they're already thinking about extending communities beyond a simple silo. I'm doing the same thing. I had two big releases, a photography one called Beautiful Cities of the World. And then I also created about 6,000 AIs that like talk to you and offer an opinion. And so as an artist, you like to think like the utility is the art. Everyone always wants utility, right? I kind of bristle at that a little bit because I think the art itself can be the utility. However, I did come up with a pretty clever idea, if I do say so myself, and I do, that anyone that owns any of my NFTs, it counts as like a VIP ticket. I'm going to be doing a 30-city world tour, and Australia is of course on the list. And in the afternoon, I'll be having like a free educational thing for kids that want to learn art, or kids of all ages that want to learn art. And about 7:00, we'll shut the doors. And like, let's say we're in Tokyo, whatever my NFTs you have, you get into a little VIP party where I will create, we can drink champagne and, talk about the European theater of war and these kinds of erudite subjects. And then I will create a live piece of art, and then I'll just airdrop it to everyone there or POAP it to them. And so that's a really fun way, just like Proof is doing real life meetups. I get to meet, my real life fans, and we can form a real life bond, because it's great to sit on your computer like a little nerd in your cave, but getting together with people and having real human connection, that's really what it's all about. And if you do all this work ahead of time, you know each other, so you can jump right into deep conversations and, really get to know each other on a foundational level. And it's just a beautiful way to live.
Yeah, I think I love that NFTs were really done by artists. Like, if you guys know a little bit about the history of NFTs, the whole thing was developed by artists. Back on Bitcoin, Ray Myers or whoever, just these guys were just trying to get provenance on the blockchain because they understood it. And I there's something really, really special about NFTs and the history of NFTs really coming out of art culture that has all this creativity to it. And I think it's so amazing to be a part of, because the entire world hasn't got there yet. We're still artist led in where kind of NFTs are going in a lot of ways. And I think it's super exciting. But tell me, Ryan, do you see anything besides, like right now we talk about utilities, and people are trying to figure out, well, what would be a good utility? And the best utility seems to be, at least in the kind of NFT aping community, is, well, I want the price of these things to go up, right? But okay, it's a membership, it's a pass into a club. Is there anything I'm missing, or anything that you've heard and like, ooh, that's something there that is kind of like the next level up, or the next something that you don't know, nobody knows how it's going to work yet, but you see maybe this is something in the future of the way these things are going to work?
Yes, I think there's going to be a lot of innovation around NFT utility, but I want to back up for a minute and again talk about community. So if you look at Year of Women, or if you look at Trey's work, or any artist's work, as soon as you have collectors who can actually talk to each other, can gather together in a Discord, that's utility. That is really valuable, to be able to connect with people who collect your work, and for collectors to be able to connect with artists. And I mean it, and not only that, but you get to support the artists. And if the artist wins, then you win as a holder. This has never been possible before, because we never had on-chain royalties. But, for once, artists can actually win and become independently wealthy instead of having to be a tech bro. And this is huge. So I think that utility is being understated, number one. Number two, I think communities are what we deeply, deeply crave, right? So, when we're all on our deathbeds, thinking about our life, we're going to imagine the people that we loved around us. And we're beginning to see these things happen, right, in these NFT gated communities. Now, the thing that's the problem is by creating an exclusive community, you're becoming exclusive, right? So Proof started off, at anywhere from an ETH to 5 ETH, and now it's 20, 30, whatever ETH. It's completely impossible to get in if you're normal. So how do we build community around that? So we are thinking about, ways to tackle that. So I think we have a long way to go before we have to worry about, utility beyond community. There is some fun things. I mean, look at Treasure DAO and the kind of bonkers utility happening on layer 2. We're going to see, physical utility. If you look at Gowalla, they're doing some really interesting things about meeting up in real life and dropping NFTs, into physical spaces and using AR. We're just at the beginning of all this. It's going to be really fun to see what happens.
Yeah, AR and the future of AR experiences is super exciting. And I think along your line of thinking, this idea, I think really we're people experience it, but it's not talked about enough. This idea of supporting an artist and the great vibes that go along with that is completely undervalued in the space, and it's so incredible. I mean, even if it's something small, even if it's just minting one of the person's NFTs and it's a few $100s, and then you're in that community and you have that connection with that artist. I talk to people about it, and I'm like, this is like in the olden days where I'd have whatever Da Vinci living in a house on my property and I'm supporting that artist. That's literally what it's like, but you're on a global scale. You're globally reaching these people, and it's fantastic. Yasmin, have you experienced that? You must have experienced it a little bit already.
Yeah, no, I'm just sitting here like nodding away because, I guess coming from being a traditional artist, trying to kind of build that community just in my hometown is, it was tough. You really do need to kind of wear all the hats, and you've got to do all the things to build out a business and to be recognized as an artist. And even to the point where literally 2 weeks before I kicked off this project, I literally got put into my local gallery and actually removed within 2 weeks because there was a change of hands internally. And so that was kind of hard for me. But then 2 weeks later, I launched this project, and it just re-established that kind of idea that I had around, there is not just one way to reach your goals. And, gallery is all about like the institution. It's all about, the middleman, and it's all about somebody else dictating, are you good enough, or are you worthy of being seen to these collectors? And so what Web3 does is it just removes that middleman, and it just puts artists and creators in direct touch, just to echo Ryan's point, with these, with the communities. And so now like people can decide whether or not they want to, look at my work, or whether they want to invest in my work and my journey as an artist and all the other creators. And so it is absolutely paramount. There's no time ever, there has been no time in history, I think, where we've actually experienced this, unless, back to your point, Anna, of like the Da Vinci sitting in your, sitting in your kitchen. But yeah, it's phenomenal for creators. It really does allow, creators and community to connect and to be able to give back symbiotically now. And of course, like with these ongoing royalties for the creators, and then, that's something that it's just never been done in history for artists. So yeah, it's an incredible time. And yeah, I'm looking forward to.
I think for me, it hit me for the first time. I rediscovered a project called Ether Waifu, which was a 2018. Basically, it's like anime this artist in Indonesia. He's done art his entire life. And in Indonesia, it's very hard to make a living as an artist. And his parents on him, you know, you can't be an artist. Stop it. You're never going to make money. You're never going to do it. Stop it. You know, you're being a fool, really. And they built this project in 2018. His friend of his was a developer who was like, hey, there's this thing like NFTs, like CryptoKitties. You can do this. And maybe we'll be able to sell them. They sold almost none. And when relaunched it, they sold $500,000 worth of NFTs in that first day. And he's set for life, and he can do art for the rest of his life. And I think that for me was the moment like, oh my God, this is a mix of provenance combined with, you know, a global marketplace for artists, which is like you said, first time in the history of humanity. It's that amazing. Trey, what would you recommend for, you've had success, any artists out there listening, what tips would you give to aspiring artists who want to enter NFTs?
Yeah, I would try to create an overall ethos or a larger mission around what you're doing rather than just trying to make money. You know, I practice a lot of Zen work and this sort of thing. And my core modus operandi is about spreading love and consciousness. And if I could do that with art, if I could just take people and help them transcend above their normal day-to-day malaise and ennui, that's an accomplishment in itself. Secondarily, if I can inspire them to, you know, find their own bliss through creativity, that's great as well. And to the same point, all you guys are making, and you too, Adam, you know, you're sort of this nerdy NFT Indiana Jones that's going back. I mean that in the nicest way possible.
I appreciate it, brother.
Right. So there's real artists out there that make amazing stuff. And I've always believed, even when I started becoming an artist 20 years ago, I started my blog and no one came for years. It was just me and my mom on that dang thing. But I always thought that like real art will eventually be found and appreciated. And, you know, I stumbled across Yaz's work a little bit before Year of the Woman. And then I mentioned it in the Proof Collective, her Ride or Die series. And then, you know, the Nooch and Happy Cow and UC and a bunch of people went in and just vacuumed up the whole collection. And she sold out like in a day. And that's an example of what you were saying about this anime guy. There's just great art out there that's undiscovered. But when people see real art and they have an eye for it and they collect different things, they're like, oh, this is interesting. You see kind of Yaz's cool GTA style. You're like, I want some of this. And so even though there's a lot of crappy stuff out there, you know, this Pareto distribution of 80-20, you know, 20% of the stuff is good, 80% is crap. But real artists, people that collect, people that develop an eye over time, you don't know it, but like over time, everyone just inherently knows what's beautiful. You understand this Fibonacci sequence, this 5 proportion inside of your mind. We all know what's beautiful. And so when you start to look at something and you appreciate it, this muscle becomes stronger, this muscle to understand beauty and this to swim in the wonder of something beautiful and unknown. And as you discover these things, you start to collect them. So in a way, we're teaching the entire world how to be art collectors. This used to be a very niche discipline amongst the erudite, and there's like a lot of charlatans out there in the traditional art world. Believe me, I've been in the traditional art world for a long time. There's a lot of nonsense out there. But now that's another meta level thing that's going on is we're all learning how to be art collectors, how to appreciate art and how to form these one-to-one connections with artists. And I think all artists know that it's not a zero-sum game. You know, the whole pie expands and we can all win together and we're all in this together. And it's a beautiful time to be alive, either as an artist or a collector or both.
Well, I appreciate like what Proof does is this ability to help artists, to bring artists to a certain group of collectors. You have a very nice niche of really high-end collectors, and this ability, which some artists aren't the greatest at maybe marketing themselves or doing the other things besides the art. I mean, Ryan, do you think we're at the end of the starving artist phase in this world? I mean, is it possible that the cliche could be dead?
I think we're beginning to see the end. There's systems that are still in place that are holding down people that have been held down around the world still, right? And they're perpetuated in Web3, and that's, you know, we need to not be naive about that. But we are beginning to see new artists be discovered. You know, for instance, the first project that we had in Proof was called Grails. Kevin Rose found 20 artists to come in, create one piece each, and everybody in proof got to mint one and didn't know the artist. So you picked it for the art. And the beautiful thing was there was 3 or 4 artists that had never produced a piece or never produced an NFT before, and all the royalties go to the artist. So proof gets nothing. And so the beautiful thing is that we're already sending checks for royalties to these new artists, and they're winning, right? So I think we're beginning to see wealth begin to transfer to artists, and it's wonderful. And I think it's going to continue as long as we keep raising up these artists. So,
well, certainly we've entered this phase, and I think we are early enough where the vast majority of this globe doesn't really know what we're doing here. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the next decade or so, as the world awakens to this, and how it begins impacting different industries. I know a lot of people are trying to work, on the music industry right now, and see if we can repair some of that broken system. And I'm not sure, right? These layers of bureaucracy and systems have grown up over time, and they're hard to dismantle. I'd love, as a kind of closing kind of idea, just if we could go around the room, Yasmin, I'll start with you, like what you think, your idea that nobody is thinking about, or just something that you foresee in the next decade or so.
Yeah, well, I guess just to bring it back to, this whole kind of like old paradigm being dismantled about the starving artist. I think we're yet to see, obviously, like the fruits of all this labor, and there's going to be so many things that come up, in the future. And the more artists that come into the space, and the more kind of like expert opinions there are, then the more this is going to evolve. So so I guess like it's a little hard for me to comment on what I do foresee, but I just know that the more, like I said, the more people entering the space, the more heads will be put together, and like it's just, there's so many opportunities for artists, because the creators are kind of like the pioneers and the ones that kind of like, I guess, pave the way, and so then there's just there's so many exciting opportunities to come. But no, I have to say it's incredible just to be here, really. And back to what Trey was saying, that kind of little overnight success story was my first taste of it. So so grateful, and honestly, it's a game changer for artists.
Yeah. I've been asked a lot what I think my vision is of the future of the next decade or 15 years. And I say, I have no idea, because I know with all the, hundreds or thousands, millions of people building in the Web3 space, you just can't predict it. Like I could have never, ever predicted that I'd have a studio in my pocket, right? And be talking to people around the world. This is impossible. This is a magical dream. It wasn't even a dream. It couldn't even be envisioned in 1995, right? But Trey, tell me what you think the future holds for us.
Well, I probably think about it a lot in terms of the way you think about it. One of the things I read most about is, anthropology and history, science and genetics and all this kind of stuff. And one of my heroes is Kevin Kelly. He's actually on the advisory board of one of my NFT companies. And we walked the Camino de Santiago together. He's a futurist. He's done like 3 TED Talks. And so he has this wonderful idea about when disruptive technologies come and how they change the world. And if you think about like what electricity did to the world, right? So people used to use a hand pump, right, to pump water. And then we added electricity to it. And so now I can just pump water all day, right? And that's just one thing. We brought electricity to hundreds of thousands of mechanical things, and it completely changed the world. Now, artists have been making art, since time immemorial. And artists are inherently creative people. A lot of times it's visual art, but it could be singing. And there's all kinds of different artistic things that people create. But now with Web3, you can do the same thing that electricity did to the water pump. My degree is computer science and math, so I'm kind of steeped in both worlds, in art and computer science. But artists are so creative, and now they can team up with Web3 people who also have amazing ideas. Artists have amazing ideas, and together it's going to make something amazing. And we don't know what's going to happen. That's probably the most exciting thing, is that every day we get to turn the page of a book, and we don't know what's going to happen next. But we know with like creative artists and creative Web3 people coming together, that they're going to bring us this beautiful Valhalla that we never expected.
Love it. Ryan, metaverse, AR experiences, Lord knows where we're going to be in a decade, but I think we're wrapping up. Give me your 30-second vision of the world.
We're going to be more human. Like, we're going to see our kids come in and plug in their phones during our talks. And then after that, we're going to see the tokenization of all physical assets. And that's going to unleash this Cambrian explosion of composable NFTs that is just going to be so fun. I can't wait.
Absolutely awesome. I can't wait either. I'm not sure on our time here. We're at the top of the hour now. We were at a half hour, right? That was how long we were going. Am I right? Yeah. I don't know if our hosts have cut us off already or not. I guess we'll just keep rolling. I guess we'll keep rolling. What else? Well, we've summed up the whole NFT space. How could we have anything more to say? Yeah, all I know is I'm excited, and I'm super excited for the way we begin impacting other areas. Like, art is the tip of the iceberg, right? And I think my personal belief is music is next, because I think it's the one most closely related to art. Do you guys have any other ideas about where you think this reaches out? I know we talk about NFTs. My friends who aren't in the space think NFTs and art are the same thing, right? Tell me, Ryan, do you have a different view on that, or how do you explain that to your normie friends who think NFTs are just art?
Oh, wow. Well, I basically explain, you have a house that has a deed, that deed is going to be on the blockchain at some point. And this is where we're all going, right? Every asset is going to end up on the blockchain, every asset on the globe, right? And so it's like where I feel like I'm talking to people back in 1994 all the time, and I'm trying to convince them like FTP is a thing,
Totally.
And I just have to accept we're so advanced that it's hard for people to get their head around. I was at a dinner party 2 nights ago, and these are advanced adults with big careers, and they had never even heard of NFTs, and that I had to explain to them, like, art on the blockchain is great, you can collect it. And I just realized, wow, oh my gosh, we're so early.
Yeah, totally. I've had that experience and that discussion 50 times over the last year. And just so you guys know, I didn't really probably get a chance to say it, but one of the reasons why I love historical NFTs is that I do believe we are on the cusp of the greatest technological advancement since 1995 and the internet. Maybe even bigger, potentially much bigger. And my view is that the first assets that were put on the blockchain are going to be historically very valuable. And so myself and a bunch of collectors, I'm an NFT archeologist, which everybody's like, that's crazy. These things are only 5 years old. But like, that's what we do. We go back and we find ones, puny codes from 2011. There's only 85 of them, yet these were like really the first NFTs in the world. Like, how valuable are those going to be? From a collector's standpoint, I think they're going to be tremendously valuable. I could be wrong. I let everybody know I could be wrong, but then again, I could be right. And we could be on the cusp of the greatest technological revolution of our lifetime, bigger than the internet, which is super special to be a part of. And it's magical to be a part of, right? And community is just a whole nother layer on top of it. And I don't know. I'm so excited. I'm rambling a bit here. But Yasmin, so you're going to LA. You're minting your is it 10,000 pieces right now? Your project?
So it's a 10K generative project. So we're over halfway through the mint, and I'll be going to LA for NFT LA next week. And then also speaking there's Women's Tribe who invited me to speak at one of their events at the Gary Vee building in downtown LA. So I'll be doing that on the 30th. But yeah, so it's essentially,
awesome.
Just lots of meeting people in real life and just that whole conversion. And so obviously I'll be doing some, I think, we might have wrapped it. Yeah.
In real life meetups, community building. This is what we're all a part of. It's fantastic. We all get to build it together. I just got notified by the mods. They need to wrap it. Guys, thanks so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it, and can't wait to see what we all build in the next decade or so. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys.